Of the Member of Parliament, Matuga, Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandaza. Gentlemen, good to have you once again this morning. We're talking about Kitui County. Your plans are still Member of Parliament?
Like I said, there is still a lot of time to the next election.
Okay.
And I think what is happening for most of us who have been in these positions is there's a lot of consultation with our supporters and voters just to find out what they think about our future politicians. Up to now, I've really not said what I want. I had indicated that I will be upgrading myself to the next level. But you know, politics is about numbers, as we are saying.
That's true.
There's a lot of table work. You need to sit on the table, map with areas, see which areas are you think you are your strongholds. There's also the need to consult the people who support you, because you can't go far unless you have a team to work with. So basically for now what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the development. I didn't promise. I'm sure if you call them they will attest to that. So for now, between now and December, I'm almost like now summarizing, kind of now concluding all the areas I said I'll be implementing. But I'll be making a serious announcement in December, like Raila said. Oh,
man, the politicians with these serious announcements, man, I don't know. We are being treated to so much of, uncertainty. I will have to wait for serious announcents after serious announcements.
Consultation is very important in politics.
The big bang coming.
It's like going for a job, like you just apply. Serious consultation is necessary in politics. And, especially when you are a ranking member like what we are now. So it's important to consult and also consult other leaders to see how you want to move the area, because like I'm a ranking member in Wiper, and as a party we have serious plans. We are now planning to have a presidential candidate. And the presidential candidate requires serious campaigners and supporters all over the country. So I will also be waiting for instructions from my party leader.
Okay.
If we really requires me, as Tandaza said, we are consulting even other partners. Like you're aware today there's a serious meeting.
And that's the main discussion. We want to know what you seek to achieve there, or the other way around.
See some of us behind the scenes. So
we are eagerly waiting. It will be a serious announcement.
Just leave us for now to do serious work. We'll be telling you what at the right time.
I don't know how true this statement is. Over time, I'd say that yes, I want to believe the statement, but over time again, I see the essence of coming out clean early enough and preparing early enough. And so you find that the likes of Deputy President William Ruto, politicians who've been there long enough, and they started their campaigns early. I mean, you want to tell me that Deputy President William Ruto did not know that one day in politics it can be a million years and so much can change, that he would go out and start declaring his interest as early as actually 2017. Why is it that we find leaders like Honorable Makali Mulu saying that let's take our time first? Why should Right Honorable Raila Odinga say that, I have still not declared, yet he's out there speaking to people, appearing as though he is campaigning? It does not make sense to me, Honorable Tandaza, as you tell us how Matuga is.
That's a very interesting discussion. In politics is the local. Politics is basically local.
Yes.
And at one point will you be able to generalize the politics of Nyanza and the politics of Kwale or the politics of Kitui and Northeastern. Remember, in Northeastern they have even what they call negotiated democracy, which applies only Northeastern, and it works for them up to now. So politics is local. One can come up with his or her own strategies in terms of a seat. I believe for sure, even if he has not said it, but as a politician I know, if he's waiting for December to make a declaration, I'm sure he's working towards that declaration. He might not have made the declaration now, but just like the Right Honorable, I'm sure if he's aiming for another seat, he's also started preparing the ground. So it is either way. But declaring, for instance, if you're a member of parliament and you want to go for governorship 5 years to the election, I don't think it's a good strategy to me, especially when you have a constituency to take care of. Yeah, because essentially you're elected for 5 years to serve your constituency. And the moment you declare and start moving out of your constituency that early, then it is a problem. For a presidential candidate, it could be different because essentially is elected by the whole country. So he moves within the whole country. For them to go either in his capacity as the president, as the deputy, he still serves the whole country. But for a member of parliament, it's a little bit different. For me in Matuga, I have some unfinished business within my constituency. And I've done my best, but I think the next 5 years should be able to clear what is remaining, and then now I can start strategizing for something else. And for this matter, who said that I cannot even vie for the presidency in future? You know, this idea of thinking that you don't have the numbers, for maybe I might not be having all the resources that I need, but I think mentally, in terms of resources, I could be having enough resources to mount a presidential campaign in future. But for now, keep it parliamentary.
All the best, all the best. As we're going to, you know, I had a conversation here. It wasn't actually on set, but it was just around one. And during this movements that Baba has been making, especially also those ones as he goes to meet the likes of the Mount Kenya Tycoon, Mount Kenya Foundation, you always find senior counsel Orengo there. And I remember his people saying that, you know what, he won his seat without even having to go there to campaign. And they actually confirmed to me that he's going to win the gubernatorial position without again going
it's
there.
possible.
How lucky can a politician be, you know?
You know, it just depends on what role you play in the party. And I think when you look at somebody like Honorable Orengo, he has been in this game for many, many years. The other day I was actually surprised he joined Parliament. Was it 82? And after now he's still in Parliament. So it means like where he has reached now is a matter of him declaring what he wants, and because of his association with the party leader, then he goes there. And that's why we are saying, basically, you know, when you are a strong member of a party and your party makes use of you in different areas, you can actually get instructions like, this time you are not doing this, you are going to do this.
Now I understand. And that's where you come from when you say you have to wait.
That's why you see you have to do a lot of consultation. Because the party might think, after looking at the bigger picture, they might want to tell you that we know you can easily get this, but we think for purposes of the party and development of the party and our future strategies, you are better playing this role this time. So you see, become more of a property of a party than just your own. And that's why you see this consultation. That's why you can hear Raila is saying he's still consulting. Because, you know, when he goes to a different region, issues are being raised about what they expect of him. So at the end of the day, he has to sit and say, I've gone to Northeastern, these were the demands. I've gone to Central Kenya, these were the demands. So based on those demands, he needs to make a decision. Because once you say, I'm a presidential candidate, and you go for it and you have told people I'll be able to deliver 1, 2, 3, then you must be ready for that. So you might at one point sit and say, based on these demands, I don't think even if I became the president, I would be able to deliver on them. So on the basis of that, I would rather support somebody else to deliver. So these are critical decisions you have to make as a politician. And that's why you see at times, you just don't rush saying, I want this. Otherwise, the normal inconsistency of politician starts to arise. That today you say this, tomorrow you say this. And that's basically because of not planning well and allowing enough time for consultation. So to me, I think what Raila is saying makes a lot of sense. That let him consult, and after consultation, then you'll make an informed decision, which you cannot say, I'm going back to an earlier position. That is important in politics. Otherwise, Kenyans will not take you seriously.
All right, Honorable Tandaza.
Well, let me pick from, I think there are lessons to be learned from Honorable Senator Orengo's case. Remember, at one point, he went against Raila, and he lost his seat. So we are going back to where we said politics is actually local. There are some areas where the party is supreme. And you know, our parties, it's actually not the party, it's the owner of the party, or the head of the CEO of that party, who runs supreme. You are either with him or you are out. So for Orengo, I don't think he has a choice. He doesn't have a lot of choice. After all, he has already tried going against Raila and lost his seat until when he came back and said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm now born again. I was misled by the devil. And he went back into politics. So that is the situation. But there are some areas really where the party politics don't play a major role. Yeah, there are some areas in this country where party politics don't play a major role. So one would really be depending on his or her performance on the ground, and of course how prepared he is to go to the next level.
So this could be informing Right Honorable Raila Odinga's dilly-dally aspect, and I know Mheshimiwa has articulated that, but you know, it appears as though like he should be a straightforward thing for the like of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And I mean, as we look at the papers, he finds himself, you know, across all the papers on the front pages, based on the interview that he had yesterday with journalists from Rift Valley region. And he has articulated a couple of things that would dictate his next move. On the Standard newspaper, it speaks of the Pandora, his response to the same. Uhuru Raila turntables. I don't know whether you want to say something about this Pandora thing. But according to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, he says the president and his handshake partners seem to be reading from the same script, declaring that the leaks will lift a veil of secrecy and unmask those unable to explain their wealth. That is the front page of the Standard newspaper. Still on Right Honorable Raila Odinga on the Daily Nation, he says former Prime Minister hosts allies for a 3-day retreat. New faces in Raila's inner circle, a couple of individuals that have been mentioned here. And on the People Daily, it speaks of that interview and a couple of issues that you know, came up. That one on, yes, his interference of the Jubilee government. He speaks of what he needs to do as he plans for 2022. He speaks of a possibility of, he responds to the question of whether there's a possibility of him working with the deputy, and he says no, there is no possibility because the deputy is already up running and has set his campaigns. It would only be fair for him to be accorded the chance to proceed. But he equally appreciates that he was really instrumental during the 2007 elections in taking him where it is that he is today. He has addressed the Mau Forest. I don't know why I'm not able to project this here, but it's fine. He has addressed the Mau Forest factor. He still says that he is not, feeling regret, any essence of regret in regards to his stand or his position on that. And I think I'd love for us to start on that very bit. Do you suppose this is one thing that would cost him again?
You know, Linda, as you are saying, he has commented quite on a number of issues. And let's start with the Pandora papers.
Yes.
You know, I think, and this has been said by many commentators, it is not really good to own a foreign account on the offshore account. Legally, there's no problem. But I think there are moral issues. So whether you have an account out there, unless you are state or public officer, because the law is very clear that if you are a state or public officer, then for you to have an account outside the country, you must declare it.
Yeah.
But if you are not, then you can open your account out there. And basically, one of the reasons why people open accounts there is about 3-4 issues. The first one is the investment interest, because you know you want to invest, and the reason why people invest is because of the returns. So you have, if you have resources and you want to invest, you look at different options where you can invest your money, so that you get higher returns. And this is happening all over the place. So that's one reason why some can have an account there, so that you do what we also call offshore investments. You can buy shares out there, or you can even put money in a bank and get good rates in terms of fixed accounts, or those many different accounts. The other reason why you should open an account out there could be political related, that you feel like the country where you live is not politically stable, and in case of any political instability, then you might also need to have your resources secured, so you secure them out there. The other reason is just for purposes of also easy transaction. For example, you know, if you have a dollar account out there, it's also related to investment. The issue of exchange rate flexibility, you know, for example, Kenyan currency is very volatile. Today it's up there, today it's depreciating, it's appreciating. And normally in areas where their currencies are not very stable,
right,
then it also makes a lot of sense for you to invest out there where there's stability in terms of exchange rates. because you are sure the value of investment remains. And that's another reason actually why people push their money there. But then now, I think what is happening in the Pandora Papers, the question is now, it's more of a moral question. And I think morally, it is not right if you are a leader of a country to have resources out there, so long as you are pushed those resources there when you are a leader. And I think the question we'll be asking when we do much more investigation on this is at what point did these accounts or companies were they opened out there by the Kenyatta family? Because if they were done when President Uhuru was just a normal person like either a normal politician like me and him, that he was not able to influence the resources of this country to go out there, then I don't think there will be any problem. But if some of this investment was done when he is the president, then morally that is wrong, because you will be saying, instead of stabilizing your own economy so that people can invest here, then you don't have even confidence in your own systems structures, and you go open accounts out there. That would be wrong, morally. But then, basically, legally, I think every Kenyan is allowed to open accounts there, so long as you're not a public officer or state officer, where you need to declare why you have that account. Basically, to me. Then on the matter of the team is now, as you're saying, the issue of this team is crafting, and whether it could cost him the issue of the Mao, the issue of, I think when you look at every Kenyan politician, we all have history. We've gone through different stages politically, and we might have made mistakes at some point. We might have made some good decisions, and what really matters is, as a politician, if you are scared of making mistakes, then you don't go anywhere. Because that's why you are a leader. A leader is supposed to be a risk taker, so that at the end of the day you can say, this is something I believe in, I'm going to really push for it. If it backfires, too bad for you. But if it works well, then because something will have thought through it, then it helps the country. And I think really what Raila did for the Mao, those old days, because of displacement of people, could have looked very bad. But I think really today, I think they might be reaping the fruits of that decision.
That's actually what he says.
Mao was actually rehabilitated. And as a result, you remember at one point the Mara River was actually drying up. And this issue of the issue of migration, migration, was becoming really exposed. And I think now, since the Mao was rehabilitated, that issue is no longer an issue. The river is now, we have enough water in the river. We are assured of our, is it the 7th one of the world? Or is
the 8th.
It's the 8th. It's still there, very now active. So to me, I think while at that time it looked that bad, I think Kenyans today might have to reflect again and see whether really agree that decision was so I don't think it will cost him this time. The amount I don't think it will be a big issue now this time.
And the DP is there, was there at least yesterday. Mulu here, this Mao region, equally trying to woo these individuals. You agree that this time around, the people are knowledgeable enough not to look at this as though it's something that is going against them?
Well, I think let me briefly also touch on the issue of the Pandora.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it from a totally different view from my colleague here. Why is it coming out at this time when we are basically in an election? Could it be the same script whereby as you are pushing for real issues? To me, the real issues are the corruption, the current corruption status in the ground, the KEMSA, the ROR, the chicken gate now. It's the same IBC. We forget so fast. 5 years ago, IBC was rocked by a grand mega corruption in the chicken gate scandal. That has not been solved. 5 years down the line, they were able to jail people in the UK, but here, everybody went. So, is it that it's a narrative that is meant to now move our thinking from pushing for our monies? The president has been record 2 billion bank lost every day, and now this is money which is lost was lost yesterday. Yes, it's going to be lost today. I would want to believe the mathematics of the CEO or the president, of course, is well briefed. And yet now we are now talking about the Pandora Papers, about money which is somewhere moved 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and yet we have, could it be a diversionary kind of politics? And could it also be something that is coming to shape up also some form of the politics that is coming in 2022, so that we start viewing, there are these people who have money outside, and yet there are people who are taking money currently, where people need it most here. So I will really, in my view, it is more of a political narrative than a real issue that Kenyans would think now, oh, we are going to see how much is out there and get it back. Remember, at one time we had this issue of, was it Gishuru, the former PLC managing director, and
Okemo.
And Okemo. You know, these were real monies by that time.
Yeah.
And we've never recovered that money up
And
to
so
now.
we're
And
focusing much on,
about,
okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about it. We're not talking about it. And these guys are still here. They did, Okemo.
Right.
Okemo is still alive. Yeah. And we've forgotten. So I think, to me, we should be talking about real issues. And real issues is the money which is being lost today, which will be lost today, will be lost tomorrow, which was lost before.
I'm trying to get the name of the official of KPLC. Was Gichuru, and the other one, that one was
Okemo.
Okemo.
Okemo was the minister.
And the other one was the
CEO.
Yes, the CEO.
And that money has been there.
Has not been addressed. But then also on these reports that again we understand what the Constitution dictates in regards to having officials or state officials holding foreign accounts. But then there are also exceptions that were presented by the 12th Parliament, diluting that principle and saying that in the event that we'll have these exceptions, then the EACC has to approve. And the EACC says it has approved of about 435, officers that have been allowed to put their money on offshore accounts. But now the due diligence and how these monies are attained is one thing that is in question. And so it's a conversation that will linger with us. Do you expect President Uhuru Kenyatta to probably tell us something different from what it is that he said? Because he says, once he's done with the US thing, then he's going to offer a proper report in regards to that. I mean, does he really have to do that?
I don't think he'll offer more any further explanation for what he has already done. And to me, whether he does or he doesn't, I don't think there'll be a difference in terms of the economy of this country, in terms of the recoveries of the monies which are out there. And I think we are more into the succession politics now than chasing money which is out there when you are losing money from within.
But I think Linda, for me, I think it would be important if, as he promised, from an accountability perspective.
Yes.
I think it would be important for him when he comes back. He promised Kenyans. So I think it would be important when he comes back just to tell us what he has in mind.
Right.
And as he said it might be the start of a serious accountability framework, so that anybody who has resources out there can also tell us how much they have out there, where do they get the resources from. Because to me, I think the most important bit out of all this discussion is for people to be able to tell us whether the money they have out there could be money which was actually came from our public coffers. Because if it's what I would call genuinely earned money, that you worked for the money or you did business and got the money, I don't think there's a problem. But Kenyans would be very concerned if this money was public money, which you, in a corrupt way, or either in a way which you can understand, found itself in that particular account.
But
it's better for the president to come and tell us, basically. Because I think what he wants to say is, he said he will be clearing the hair in terms of the money they have out there, whether it was genuine. And I think the reason why he was that candid to say, I will be telling you, I think is very clear on how they made that money and how the money is there. And like others who might have just pushed money there which is corruptly earned.
Okay.
I think to me that is important.
You see, the reason why I'm not very enthusiastic about that narrative, Makali, is this. Currently, in our statutes, we have the wealth declaration forms for public officers. Let's start with us, me and you, you see. And of course, we know, currently as we sit here, there are people with millions and billions of monies which they can't account for. Right here, as we are talking. Yeah, there are people with, if we were to do the lifestyle audit from the junior officers in the public service, somebody earning 100,000 and now he's worth billions. Somebody up to the members of parliament probably earning 1 million shillings and they are worth billions. People who will tell you I started by selling newspapers on the streets,
yeah.
and now I have billions. You know, there are some narratives which don't add up, and the same ethics and anti-corruption is here, the same DCI is here.
Yeah.
Whether it is overwhelmed or it's acts of commission or omission, I might not really be able to summarize up to now. But I still have the same position that I don't think much will come out of what we are waiting with a bated breath from the president, that once he comes from the UK, he's going to tell it all, and that will solve the mystery. I'm not convinced. In any case, how many times has he promised, himself as the president, how many times has he promised that he's going to give some information? You remember, there is a particular instance, I think, and this was an open forum, when he was asked about the contract of the SGR specifically, and he said, he gave a timeline that within 2 weeks, I'll make it. Has it been presented? Is anybody asking him again about that one?
No.
Forgotten, and life goes on. Remember, even when he gave an ultimatum on the recent scandals and said within 21 days, and people waited, counted, 1, 2, 3, leo imefika 19th. Kesho ni 20, wacha 21 days sasa tuone press conference from State House. Did it ever happen?
And I'm telling you, we are all said, even in the morning, we're preparing to go and cover that news.
Yeah, but Linda, this is a country where...
Linda, I really want to plead with my colleague, Honorable Tandaza.
But if it happens, I will be very happy.
To support me on this matter.
Yeah. Okay. If it happens, I'll be very happy.
This matter is very important for this country. You know why? It is the #1 Kenyan.
That's true.
Coming out to tell Kenyans what is there. The reality, the truth about this matter. I think that is very important for this country.
But I mean,
I'm just saying, I wish it happens.
We all wish
because if it happens, it will actually be setting a very good foundation.
Let me tell you, it will not happen.
As we move to the future.
I would not be surprised if it doesn't happen, because we've talked about the lifestyle audit for the longest time.
That's okay.
It will not happen.
But I'm just hoping it becomes the start of...
let's go with your hope, right? At least that one of a mustard seed can
because it will be a very good, it will be setting a very good
presidents
for this country. That the #1 has come out clearly and told Kenyans what is happening out there in our offshore accounts. And if that happens, then Kenyans can easily demand for another Kenyan to do the same.
But it would be very easy for the #1 person to do this, because we also understand that he does not come to presidency, from a background where, they were not well endowed with resources. And therefore, that's why a majority of Kenyans said, this is not actually getting us by surprise.
Yes.
I mean, you have had statements like, let's put him, or let's have him ascend to presidency because he's not going to steal our money. They already have enough.
Yes.
And therefore, he might not find it hard to explain, but a majority of other Kenyans who've, genuinely stolen money from us would not want this to go through.
But the good thing is, once he does it, then tomorrow can say #2 do it, or the ministers do it. The Honorable Makali and Tandaza do it. To me, I think it's developing a very good...
And speaking of which, now that Right Honorable Raila Odinga has addressed these matters, and we also have him there, he says he's not declared his interest for president, but we know that even if he does not, then the person he will push or he will endorse will probably match with his interest. And in this case, he speaks of corruption.
Let me chip on that about whether he has declared or not.
He said he has not.
I'm a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, so I'm an arbitrator. And there's something in contract agreement that, of course, it says that basically it has to be written or signed or proclaimed. But a contract can still exist even if it's not written by deed.
Okay.
You see, by acting.
Yes.
You see,
we can actions dictate.
Actions can actually form a contract.
Right.
And enforceable for that matter. So he has not said it. But how did he appear before the Mount Kenya tycoons? Because the Mount Kenya tycoons were very clear that they are going to, I'm trying not to get the word interview. I don't know which will be the correct one.
they'll have a sitting so that they can give visible minimum.
For presidential candidates.
Yes.
And he appeared. So at what capacity did he appear there if he is not a presidential candidate in 22? So some of these things you don't have to say. You see, when I see a lady and she's pregnant, should I ask her what she did to become pregnant? Hey, what happened until you are pregnant? It's obvious. There are some things which are... So for me, for this case, remember, the intriguing part is that even when ODM, this is why it's interesting about ODM party. They put an advert out there
Yeah.
asking for presidential candidates.
Oh,
He didn't apply himself.
yes.
And those who applied were told, well, you should not have applied in the first place. And they are saying, we are going to have a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
So all those who applied basically have backed off.
Yes.
You see, and they are saying they're going. So all the indications are there.
That he
that
should be the
he has
person.
declared.
But you know,
He is
I don't know how
declared by
legally
deed.
that stands, and I'd love
Yeah,
to
you
see
see.
how ODM then defends the same. Because now that we speak of the individuals that applied,
Yeah.
Oparanya is here amongst the task force
Yeah.
that are going to be pushing for his campaign agenda.
Yeah.
It is ironical, it's absurd
Yeah.
for an individual to say, I'm not going for it. But we already have a task force that, you know, incorporates even members of parliament from other parties, the likes of Sabina Chege, the likes of Kanini Kega, the likes of Secretary General Raphael Tuju, also being incorporated in his strategy for 2022.
So
It's
what
strange.
is what is there to
it
doubt
is
whether
strange.
he's,
You
what
know
is there to
about
doubt
it,
whether
yes.
it's declared? Oh no, that's what
He
I'm saying.
has.
Yeah.
You know,
contract.
Linda,
Yeah.
you know, Linda, I think we need to be fair to Honorable Raila. You know, the thing is, if you look at us, One Kenya Alliance, where me and him,
Yeah.
we are strong members of that alliance, and our party is actually full committed to through the alliance. We have Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, who has already declared that our party has given him the mandate to be a presidential candidate. We have him, where ANC has also given Musalia Mudavadi. The other day, Kanu did the same. But you are very sure at the end of the day,
But it has to be one.
there has to be one person.
Okay.
So I think what everybody is doing is you are having your teams ready so that what will happen at the right time, once you decide, if you get the chance to be the candidate, then you don't start planning at that time. So I said what most people are doing now is planning and consultations. And that's why you see everybody will be invited by the Mount Kenya Foundation, because they are potential presidential candidates. And basically what we are saying is the 5 or 6 people who are potential presidential candidates will have to go through that process, because they have a chance of becoming the president of this country. So for me, I think let's not put a lot of pressure on Honorable Raila, because as I said earlier, there's need for consultation, there's need to plan, so that once he declares, then he hit the road running. Otherwise, you can't just say, after I declare is when I'll start assembling my team.
That pressure comes from Honorable Tandaza.
I think what Tandaza is saying is, looking at what is happening around him, there are high chances he will declare.
Yes.
There are very high chances.
No, to me, it's not he will declare.
He has.
He has. You know what is declaring? You know, there is this point, Honorable Mark. Supposing I declare and I do nothing, would I be called by the Mount Kenya tycoons?
And we have very many people who have declared and
why are they
not
not being called?
They're probably not going to different parts of the country.
Because they are not. They are not. They don't have any signs that they are serious looking for this thing.
They have not been
and
called.
that is why, in fact, remember, why was he the first to be called? I don't know whether they were ranking. I don't know whether it was by chance or by bad luck.
Don't forget that Raila has already tried many times as a president. So by just even imagination, automatically having tried it's now the four times.
Yes.
And the last 3 times have been consistent. So to me, I think it would just be any Kenyan who thinks that he might not be contesting will be getting it wrong. So the first assumption is he will be a candidate till he tells us otherwise. And that's why people are saying, actually, don't be surprised. I just say, I think I've had my chance.
I will endorse somebody else.
Yeah. To me, that's
That
what I'm
would be
saying.
so historic, you know.
That's why I'm saying let's not apply pressure to Honorable Raila, because you will not be surprised even for him to say, gentlemen and ladies have tried 3 times. It has not worked.
But what happens?
This time I think it's time for somebody else to come on board. But my team is ready, because I will be supporting that particular person
So will he be running the government on the side in this case? Because, and this is my question again, he speaks of how he would wish to address the aspect of tribalism and the aspect of corruption. One, looking at all these corrupt cases that are going on, just how best would he be able to address
You know
the
what
same?
is happening in Linda?
And, yeah.
What is happening in Linda? And we are saying this as a politician. What is happening now? There is no government which is going to be formed in this country in 2022 where Raila Odinga, whether a presidential candidate or not, will not be a key player. What will happen at the right time, people will sit on a round table and agree that, for example, if I'm supporting you, what areas would be of interest to me as a presidential candidate? So that when I go and tell my people who believe in me that this government is good for us, we'll be aware that 1, 2, 3 will be done on the basis of our support. And I think Tandaza will agree with me on that point, that even all of us, even us as Wiper, at the right time, we also know what areas.
Yes.
If it happens that by bad luck, and I don't believe that bad luck will be there, that our presidential candidate will not be the flag bearer, we will also be saying, for Wiper to be in this coalition or alliance,
this is what
these particular issues must be taken on board,
Okay.
so that our supporters can also come on board. And I think that to me, Raila is a smart politician. He will be part of the government. He says, even though I may not be the presidential candidate, I can assure you, when I will be part of, because that government information will be part of that, I'll push for 1, 2, 3 for your area, so that you don't feel like you have been left out. Yes.
Honorable Kasim.
I'll be very brief.
Yeah.
My colleague here said, I will not be surprised. Me, I will be surprised. Because from what is happening now, if I were to go for the presidency come 2022, I would be working on the basis that Raila will be on the ballot. In any case, he's already shown all the indications that he'll be there. Trying to imagine that he'll not be there, I think I'll be taking myself, I'll be somehow derailing my activities, but I will be working on the basis that the right Honorable Raila Odinga will be there. And he has a democratic right. You know, there is no age limit in this country. There is no limit at how many times you have tried before, so you can't try again, you know. And remember where we started. We started by saying, for a serious presidential candidate, you will be looking at two things, resources and the numbers, you see. If you look at the resources, he has been able to show that he can mobilize resources for a presidential campaign from his previous history. If you look at the numbers, I think that is what he's looking for right now. Mount Kenya, Northeastern, wherever, you know. So those are the ingredients of a president. So what else will we be looking for to say that maybe he'll be there, maybe he might not be there? After all, look at the result. He got how many Land Cruisers the other day?
Yes, from Homeboys.
Yeah, I cannot remember any other presidential candidate getting such a type of resource from any other person from an organization.
Said no.
And why did he have to do it in daylight, you know, with all the pomp and color to show that if you are prepared, this is what you should expect to go against. Don't assume that I'm taking it lying down. I think that's the message he was trying even to send to the other presidential contenders, that look, you can do your own thing there, but you with your Capro box and with my chain of Land Cruiser donated in daylight by a Kenyan of goodwill, then prepare yourself. That is what he was telling us. So, well, we're in One Kenya Alliance. We have our presidential candidates, but to me, even to my party leader, from where I sit, if, of course, I'm not in a position to advise him, but my ideas are, let's view the right Honorable Raila as a presidential candidate, and us also as presidential. Kwa hivyo ni kila mtu ajipange. Na resources na numbers. Kila mtu ajipange. Mapema tusiseme hati umeibiwa, hati hukujua. Usiseme, oh, you know, initially I thought he was not going now. Sasa kumbe ame-announce sasa, now I'm starting afresh. Sasa hii itakuwa sasa sio seriousness ya kutafuta kura za urais. I would be very clear on that matter.
Your party leader was on the front page of the papers yesterday. This in regards to President Uhuru Kenyatta's endorsement. I don't know how important it is for the president to sit on a neutral ground, and how important it would be for him to proceed and endorse someone. Right Honorable Raila Odinga says that he's done this for years, and therefore he does not necessarily need that endorsement, but if he does, then it's a plus. And so we all acknowledge that the incumbent's position in terms of what plays out after he exits the stage is always really, really important. Many would say it's for purposes of protecting what it is that they would have amassed at that point. Many would say it's because of the fear of the unknown. They always fear that, well, if I exit the stage and then the wrong person comes on board, or a person who will target me, then it becomes a problem. I don't know, it appears like it's hard for one to be president in Africa and not have unscrupulous, activities ongoing there. And so they would want to either extend or, endorse the next person that is coming on board. Are you not worried as Wiper Party that ANC you know, amongst the One Kenya Alliance appears, or the ANC party leader appears to be having, or appears more formidable, you know, in comparison to the others. And I'm sorry to use that word, for lack of a better word. For lack of a better word, I would want to believe that you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes.
It appears like they say he's the lesser evil. And you've heard this a couple of times. They say, you know, look around, Mudavadi is the lesser evil. Look around, he's a darling of many. Look around, he's a darling of the Kenyatta family because they come way from way back. And all this.
No, basically, I don't think as a swiper we are worried because it's not happening for the first time. You remember at one point, the talk of about this, the devil was in me when I made that decision.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, yes, yes.
So nothing new are happening from where we sit. But what we are saying is, and I think this should be the message, Linda, President Uhuru Kenyatta has served this country for 10 years. He's now to be exceeding in the next 10 or so months. And as a president, he is also concerned about the future of Kenya. He will have done some projects which he might be saying these are my legacy projects, and he would need somebody who will not just come and change things all of a sudden, and it's like what you have done becomes all useless. So first of all, other than even protecting his own interests as an individual, I think also he has also to care about the country, who is taking over after him. And that happens to all of us as leaders, even me and Tandaza.
Yeah.
As you start to plan to exit, you also want to plan about who is taking over. It's not because you have done anything wrong, but because you have done some projects which you think if somebody continues with the same way, then your people will be having better life.
Yeah.
So to me, the issue of whether endorsing or not endorsing, it's not there or here. Because the thing is, Linda, President Moi endorsed the current president in 2002, and he didn't win.
I would want to believe an endorsement.
And I really don't believe that anybody harassed Moi because Uhuru didn't win. What we are saying is, it might be, you might have some added advantage if he said he supports you. But that doesn't mean then you don't go for it because he has not supported you. So I think as presidential candidate, that's what we are telling our party leader, is that go for this thing, assume nobody is supporting you. If anybody supports you as we move to the future, then it's the better for us. But if you say, I will wait for the support, then I start moving, then you will not go far. And I think basically that should be the message, that everybody who is a serious presidential contender must start putting strategies in place so that now they can start doing their work. But along the way, if somebody says, I support you, that's an additional advantage to you. And I think really, to me, that's the way you should be looking at it. But we are not saying you can ignore also the sitting president, because as we have always said, you can't say he has nobody behind him. There must be people who believe in him and who will be waiting for his word to hear what he says in terms of future presidents. And more likely, where you will say, I would want this one to be the person, you might get additional votes as a result of that.
Yeah.
But for me, I totally agree. Let everybody just go out there, talk to Kenyans, sell your manifesto, tell them what you do for them. And at the end of the day, then, based on your manifesto, Kenya will make a decision whether to support you or not to support you.
You know, while they say that it's Right Honorable Raila Odinga that messed up Jubilee Party, deep down, there's that acknowledgement that there's some bitterness as to the fact that President Uhuru Kenyatta is not coming out to support his deputy as it appears he promised, right? And so while people would say an endorsement is not as important, the few who have been endorsed will agree to the fact that it's extremely important.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
My line of thought is totally different from what you are saying right now. Because where will this vote come from? You know, as a leader, sometimes I could be listening to myself. I could be listening to my peers. And from previous experience, the normal voter, if the vote counts, let alone the issue of rigging. You know, probably when we talk about endorsements, we might not be saying it, but we could be saying, we could be thinking that the next vote will be rigged in favor of the state or in favor of whatever the current president is in for. But to me, that is not the way to go. I cannot be relying on that system that I will be rigged in. If now I move to a particular party, then I win the seat. No, I'm looking at a vote counting. that the next president, the next crop of leaders will purely be there because of the votes cast. And the majority of the people who cast those votes are the ordinary mwananchi. Those are the majority. Now, is this issue of endorsement that you are talking about, is the ordinary voter waiting for that endorsement to decide?
No.
You see, probably he will be listening into how atapata pesa mfukoni. People are suffering. Probably that's what he will be looking at.
Hold it right there. Before we started this conversation, Mahesh, we were talking about the Mount Kenya factor and whether they will endorse their own. And if there is a region that sometimes literally waits for their leaders to speak and for them to say that this is the person we're endorsing or this is the direction we're waiting, then it has to be the Mount Kenya voter. And so in this case, don't you think then it would be misplaced to say that the common mwananchi or the voter might not be waiting for, you know, that declaration of an endorsement to make a decision?
Well, there are two things here. Ikija Kiswahili kidogo, I don't know whether our listeners understand Kiswahili. Kuna mwananchi na wenye nchi.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I don't need to expound more than
That's
that.
True.
We are all Kenyans, but kuna wana Kenya na kuna wenye Kenya, you see. So when it comes to the Mount Kenya region, to me, I take that one to be a special economic zone. If I were to talk in terms of it's a special economic zone. And remember, they have the history of the presidency since independence. You see, you cannot compare the kind of development and therefore the kind of thinking the Mount Kenya people have versus a person from Northeastern versus a person from Coast. You see, so they would even be voting on the basis of to protect their wealth and their own businesses. Okay. But if I'm to translate that into Kwale, now into Matuga, who will be voting to protect his or her business or her property or his property. Hatuna, we have nothing to protect. You've been there. You've been there. You know, fortunately, she has been into my constituency. And you've seen the, and you've seen the Makuti, Thirst and Mud houses.
It's a very beautiful place. And
in terms of the land, in terms of the land, the fauna, the whatever. But in terms of the economic, anatetea nini? Nyumba haina mlango. You know, we have people who are living in houses without a door. And they are not worried of being robbed because there's nothing to be robbed. They sleep, they snore very comfortably until 8 a.m. So to me, there's, and to that regards, Linda, I'm not yet convinced, given the history of this country, that the Mount Kenya people, those wenye Kenya, will not come up with a presidential candidate.
Okay. So this time around, they will surprise us? So all this...
I'll be surprised if they don't come with a, up to this time. You know, and they've shown it over time. Okay. They've shown it over time. And remember, we started by saying, what do you need to be a serious presidential candidate? Resources and numbers. And these are the people, they are telling you now, they're resourced people from Mount Kenya. And I think this is the only region which will be, I've said, Hujan and I want to avoid the word interviewing the presidential candidates. I don't think there will be another caucus anywhere in Coast where they'll call those presidential candidates and tell them, look, we are giving you Friday, 9 a.m., be here sharp. Ukituchelewesha, marks zinapungua kwa sababu already you've shown you are not serious, you don't keep time. I don't think that will happen in any it will only... you know, I was imagining now, supposing mimi Tandaza, na wenzangu wakina Paul Katana, na wakina Kingi tuseme sasa as Coast region, tuchukue na wakina Sharifu kule juu as Coast region, tuwaite hawa mabana, simlimaliza Mount Kenya, will they come? The answer is open. They will not come. We can put even in newspapers, we can put a paper advert in all the 3 major dailies. That please, we are giving you Friday, Friday in Square Prayer.
And couple that with proposals of what you want to take to the mountain.
They will not. So, to me, on that basis, I will be totally surprised that I will start believing 3 months to 9th of August next year, if they will not have presented a presidential candidate. But don't talk of December. If this Mount Kenya people decide to put a presidential candidate, even in April, as long as the deadline for handing over those papers are not, according to the IBC timelines, they are still valid, is going to be a very serious
But what does it mean to endorse a presidential candidate? Wanjigi is here.
No, you know, Linda, what has happened is, and I like what Tandaza is saying, you know, politics is an issue of numbers.
Yeah.
And that's why we are all saying, encouraging our people to go out there and register as voters. You know, the reason why you see this scramble for central Kenya and why they can summon anybody and he goes running is because of the numbers. When you look at the number of votes in that region and their diaspora, because, you know, Nakuru and those areas, it's like central Kenya. So this is a region where if you really want to become a president of this country, you can't ignore. And that's why we are in agreement with Honorable Tandaza that we will not be surprised to see these guys giving us a presidential candidate. You know why? Because on their own, they require just another region, one, to join them.
And they get
it.
50 plus 1.
So that's why you see it's very tempting even from where they sit. You know, in game theory, we talk about a dominant player.
Yes.
Somebody who is at a level that he can mess the market game, completely, the game. So these guys have realized that because of their numbers, they're almost like, you know, dominating Kenyans.
That's true.
And it's like, it's either you are with us, or you are with us, you go to State House, or you are not with us and you don't go anywhere. And that's why you see, they will summon everybody and you go. Today, One Kenya Alliance is there. And we have no choice.
In fact, Linda, as you are talking,
like a person comes from that region. Look at how happy she is.
She has every, no, in fact, I'm looking at this scenario. I'm looking at this scenario. I'll give you the floor. Just 1 minute. I'm looking at this scenario where they'll say, well, after having interviewed all these candidates, none scored 70, none scored 70 and above, you know, to be a CEO of an authority, you need to score 70 now and above. So none scored the 70 and above. So we've decided now
we go for our own.
We go for our own. They never continue.
So what we are saying
that's
what
the possibility.
They will summon everybody, including their own Wanjiki. Because what will happen is when you go there, what they want to hear is how you going to protect our interests. And I think as he said, all said and done, we must also accept that in terms of also economic power,
they do.
The region has also serious economic power. Actually, the few Kenyans who are in that level, or you can say super rich, most of them come from that region.
Right.
So they are the people who are likely to lose much in case anything happened to this country and there was a political instability. That's why you see they are also very much interested. And to me, I think, even me, if I were in their position, I would behave the same. Because their stakes are very high. You know, their stakes are not just like me and him. Where you are, but okay, we are better than him. As we are better than him. But the thing is, even as you can call a few and they will come.
You're that region where, you know,
our region
once they decide that they have their own, they will come to you next to say, come top up to this.
No, as you can call some and they will come because they know we are also a serious block.
But anyway, speaking of which.
But don't say that done. I think really you see much of this, Linda. Central Kenya, everybody's going to be there. And actually, to me, what is even worrying me most is because their position is also making it very difficult from a political perspective, crafting alliances. You know, one card they are playing, and which Tandaza will agree with me, because of their numbers, they are likely to demand the position of a deputy president, irrespective of who becomes the president. If they don't give us a presidential candidate, their irreducible minimum will be a deputy president position. So you can imagine now that demand, what it does to all these other alliances. Because it means when the way you craft our alliances, it becomes very tricky because it's like you are crafting a like now, from as we are from NASA now. Initially we would think automatically, if Raila is there, Kalonzo will be there, Mudavadi will be there, Moi would be there, and the others. But now with their demand, it means somebody must be, displaced.
Yes.
And once you displace that, the equation becomes messed up. So you have to go back to the drawing table. And that to me is what really becomes very tricky.
I really fear for that president who will be given a deputy president. Because you know now, you are put there as a president.
Yes. You don't call the shots.
Yeah, it's for sure. That is exactly what's going to happen. So I'm saying the next 5 years, if that happens, that now whoever will be the president will be given a deputy president, and you know this is huyu ndiye mtu wetu. Unataka ni huyu, hutaki ni huyu. You know, there is no compromise, there is no discussion. And I wonder now what kind of a country we are going to have, how they are going to run this country for the next 5 years if that happens.
You know, the seriousness of these meetings, you know, again, got me to that point where I wanted to ask that very same question. Are they going to be the people who will be running government? Will we have a president that really, or a government that is really running the government? Because we have seen this across different other parts of the world, you know, and different other parts of the continent. That, you know, we just have a president for the sake of being a president, because they were literally put there. And now that they have been put there, they have to abide by everything that these individuals are speaking. Are we headed to a scenario where this is going to play out, and that even at the level of the elections, there's nothing much that the electoral body will do in terms of securing and guaranteeing us a free and fair process? Honorable Tandaza.
Linda, that's a very good question. And you know what is going to happen? Forget even about being given an individual. To me, the issue of concern to Kenyans, and to me as a person, is you get somebody who you might not even be thinking the same in terms of your programs, your policies, and anytime you sit down, then you get to where we are today, that the president and the deputy president are not talking to each other. They are not on the same page. So it means this country is likely to have another 5 years of what we are experiencing today. And that means we'll have lost in total 10 years as a country. Where the presidency, you know, our constitution talks about the presidency, where the presidency is not talking in one voice. That should be worrying Kenyans as we sit here. And that's what I can give you
because evidently from, and I know my members of parliament, they always are looking sharp and everything, but today I was expecting to have Betty Adera here. Yeah. But I am told she has to prepare for that meeting.
A serious meeting.
Why are you not giving me a better word instead of the interview? Mnajua mimi ni mtu wa Kiswahili. Ni consultation. Ni consultation. So, to me, from that, they call the Mount Kenya Foundation or whatever, they are basically looking for the presidency. They are looking for the president. It's like, you know, sisi ndio marais. Yes. Na hata tukikwambia we ni rais ujue, marais ni sisi, sio wewe. Yeah, so essentially they are going to have the presidency for this. It could be any other person, not a Kikuyu by name. But for you to get to that position, they should have Kikuyunized you in terms of you are supposed to be amongst, you are supposed to be thinking and behaving and acting like them, for them, you know. That is what they are trying to drive at.
Why is it so hard to tell them no and tell them that we don't really have to, for a presidential hope?
You can say it, but does that matter? Will it matter? You can say it, but it wouldn't matter. Remember, we've started by saying they have the two ingredients. You know, yes, somebody, you are looking for ugali. You are looking for ugali. What do you need?
Maji and unga.
Na unga. They have it. Wewe, maybe una ile mwiko. So surely
na moto
alafu unamtukana yule mtu anakuambia sawa enda na mwiko yako
na moto yako.
What are you going to do there? They have the unga and the maji. You know, those, they have the main ingredients. So I think it's us Kenyans. And I think I want to bring in a different line of thought, that it is us Kenyans, the other Kenyans. I'm not talking about 40 now or 43 against one. That debate is totally irrelevant, and I don't like that debate or pitting one or against the other. But I'm saying the lessons which we can learn, there are lessons which we can learn, that if the Mount Kenya can organize themselves in such a forum, and remember, they are poor Mount Kenyans. Me as a leader, I've been into central Kenya, I've been there. It's not that all Kikuyus are rich.
Right, that's true.
So, but if they can organize, because they're organizing themselves, knowing that the moment they decide, they can influence even the poor Kikuyu to vote in their direction. That is where their strength comes. That is where their numbers come. Now, if the rest of Kenyans can also start thinking like them, you know, we might not be having the resources, but in terms of voting, the numbers is what is counted, you know. One vote, than the CEO of Equity, or it's that of Mamamboga or wherever, it will be counted as one. That's the beauty about counting that vote. So if the rest of Kenyans can now say, well, I think it's high time now we also start thinking in terms of how do we get this presidency. Because the problem is that the majority of Kenyans, it's like they've given up on the debate of the presidency. Vile takavyoamuliwa ni hivyo hivyo. You know, they have somehow said it will be decided somewhere else. And I think that is where the actual voter is going wrong. I think we need to take this confidence into the lowest level. That even when some 5-6 people can sit and decide, still as Kenyans we know what is ailing us most. You know, the high price of fuel, the high price of the foodstuffs, the COVID pandemic restrictions which we cannot trade comfortably. I'm really worried about the ban of the night travel of buses. There used to be buses Mombasa to Nairobi every night. Those people were coming for business. They were not coming for weddings on weekdays. What happened to that type of economy? And those who are going into buses were not those foundation owners. They were the ordinary mwananchi. So those are the things that I'm hoping within the remaining 10 months or so, the voter now will realize that, well, he has a decision to make for himself, for herself, not for the foundation owners or any other grouping for that matter. And if that happens, I think now we'll be getting the leaders that will be working for the Kenyans.
You know, you speak of that and it reminds me of a scenario that I witnessed just the other day when students are now reporting to school, that is campus for that matter. And so this one who comes from the coast is supposed to be brought so that they can be accommodated. And they take the bus in the morning. By the time they're here, it's 4. By the time you into this space, it's closed. You're being told, come tomorrow. You have no relative in Nairobi. You are struggling. You have no money. I have seen, I saw the other day, and I felt like it was so bad. If the travel was allowed at night, it could have been a different thing. They would have gotten here in the morning, run the errands, and proceed back later in the day. That aside, do you suppose this foundation then will call Deputy President William Ruto?
Personally, I think at the right time they should. They might not, but I think
in the event that they don't, what will that speak?
The thing is, if they are really
engaging hopefuls, presidential hopefuls,
on the basis of their interests as a region, they should engage everybody. Not really. I don't think they should not call it. Even Maina Wanjiki, they should be able to call him and hear what he has to say about their region, because he comes from the region. Although I really don't believe they believe in him. You know, in economics there's a course we call signaling. So to me, the signals which are coming out, I don't think they believe in. They might be believing in somebody else, not him. But I think really, since he has declared to be a presidential candidate, they should be able to call everybody so that there's fairness in the whole process. And we genuinely know that they are not protecting their selfish individual interest, but they will be taking care of the region's interest. Because actually there is one of the issues which is coming up, Linda, and which I think you see, like now, that's why we have 2 teams. The question Kenyans are asking, and more the normal Central Kenya person, is whether the interests being championed in Safari Park, whether they are for the Mount Kenya Foundation or for the Central Kenya people. Region. And I think for them now to get out of that mix, they should call also Honorable Ruto, so that he comes and he explains to them what he thinks. And to me, even I think every region should be able to call all these people. Actually, Tandaza, even though you're saying they may not come to your region, I think the lesson we are learning from this, Linda, one thing I like about this as an economist is because now people are able to articulate and you tease out your issues as a region, and on the basis of those issues, you tell the potential presidential candidates, in case you get the chance to lead this country as a region, this is what really ails us. So that if you come to Kambani, we'll be telling them about our water problem, we'll be telling us about our road project, we'll be telling them about our exploited minerals, which have been there forever, and they can change our region, so that by the time you become a president, you don't go there and start asking yourself, what will I do for that region? And I think it's very important. Actually, for me, I think it's something which will just be replicate in all the regions. Let's Nyanza call these leaders, tell them what are our issues, let this time call them. And I like what I saw in Garissa the other day. This and now they have something they call UPIA. Yes. The new regional kind of party. And you can see if we go that way, then each region will be able to hold these people accountable. Right. Because we'll be able to tell you, we gave you a chance for 5 years. We told you what our issues are in a very simple way. Tell us to what extent have you gone in addressing our
issues. And you know,
and if you are not addressing them, you'll have no business coming to us again.
That's true.
To me, I think this is the way to go. They're just telling us, guys, organize yourselves and let's hold these people accountable. It is really
how crucial would that be for stability and the growth of the economy, stability of the economy? Because you realize, even if we were just to look at the mountain itself and the region, and these people that you speak of, they have so much to protect. If they were to go down economically, then it will weigh down on the country at large, and therefore it could be instrumental for them to be stable. If we were to go back to the times of the post-election violence, you realize that there was not much of animosity on these sides of the mountain, and that really placed them in a very good place in comparison to what was there, in the likes of Rift Valley, and then they had to go back to struggling to bring back themselves to where it is that they were. How good would it be? And then how then would it come in handy to make sure that at least we are guaranteed of a stable nation after 2022 general election?
Well, what brings in instability during a general election? It is the big tribes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason for instability is that they want power, you see. Remember the instability that we've witnessed if we talk about the 2007 election. It was basically from the CORD side headed by the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and then even the Deputy President was on that side, you see. So it was not about the Mount Kenya Foundation and mafias. I'm sorry, let me withdraw the word mafia. No, I honestly want to withdraw that without being prompted. Yeah, the Mount Kenya Foundation and those we call tycoons. No, they were not the ones who brought in that. So we are talking of the bigger tribes in this. I was contrasting this with the Tanzanian people, yes, where they normally don't have a lot of problems after election. Yeah. And remember, in Tanzania, they have 120 tribes. In Kenya, we have 43. Right. And then I was enlightened that the reason why they cannot talk about tribe in Tanzania is because there is no tribe which forms like 10% of the population amongst the 120. The highest could be about 8%. Right. Otherwise, there is not. So that one doesn't actually play. But when it comes to Kenyan politics, the tribal factor becomes a matter because there are those super tribes and Akinasisi from the coast. And that is why, despite the fact that BBI is now in court, you might not be a point of discussion now. But remember, the reason I was saying I was supporting it was because it was going to take care of the troublemakers. Yeah. Sometimes in a school, you appoint the head boy, not because he's the best, but
he's the most, he's the troublemaker.
Yeah, he's the troublemaker. So when you make him a head boy, then you get down. Peace in that country. Nobody will be there to burn the school. You will not be having fires in that school. And up to that extent, then it becomes good for this country because we'll be looking for what you're asking now. Stability, no violence, and for those who are doing that to small businesses, people will continue suffering, but in peace. Right. Unlike suffering when there is even no peace. You have nothing to eat and you have nowhere to sleep and you are being chased because you want to be killed. That is a different scenario.
I am tempted to ask, did President Uhuru Kenyatta take the troublemaker for us to enjoy the peace that we enjoyed?
For sure. I think they did so well, and he did so well.
That one he did it very well.
Yeah, he did it so well. Yeah, he did it so well, and kudos for that. Right. Because despite the fact that you are talking about high taxes, skyrocketing prices, life becoming difficult, no school fees, as you've said, at least there is no smoke in town. There is no tear gas in any part of this country. You see. Which is very good for this country. And I think that is what we should be aiming at. First, peace, you see. Anything that is going to destabilize peace, it should not be encouraged. No leader should encourage that kind of talk. And if through the Mount Kenya Foundation or the Central Kenya, which we have to admit, they are the largest voting bloc as a region, even when you break them down into tribes, they will still be the highest. Then they have a stake in this country in even making sure that there's peace in this country. Not only for themselves, but peace for them is also good for akina sisi,
Well
who might
spent.
not be having much, but we need that. So
Thank
to me,
you.
that's the way we'll be looking at it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. There's so much
Yeah.
feedback.
Very
Boshe says Baba doesn't need any endorsement from anyone. The Enigma, Raila Odinga, the fifth, and Dismas Ateka says Danganya Tutu Jinga. When Right Honorable Raila Odinga says that he's still going to tell us whether he proceeds for president or not, it's evident. One of them says that he's the dynasty's project, Uko Flani. Well, we wait to see whether such is going to be the case. And so many of them, so much feedback coming our way. And there's quite a lengthy one. I won't go through that because of time. Typical politicians' behaviors, they always say it's my people who have forced me to contest. And when they win, they turn against their voters. So they say that Baba will come and tell us, I didn't want, but the voices of the ground inasema hivi. Like now ground appears to be in favor of UDA so much so, at least from what they say.
But
we have to close.
From that comment, Linda,
Yeah.
the only thing I like about that comment is that wanatudanganya, then wanatusahau.
That's true.
And I think to me that statement wanatusahau is where now the Kenyan voter needs to come in.
Right.
And make sure that those who make you sahau, then they are not
Next
in the
time.
next election.
Right.
Because the good thing is, Linda, is a circle. After every 5 years, you are given a chance to vote somebody in again or vote out. And I think what Kenyans are not doing, and I've said this many times, is that Kenyans are not holding leaders accountable. We are blind to the issue. For example, if I don't know whether Tandaza you have tested this.
Yeah.
The other day I was in my constituency and I was just commissioning a project.
Right.
And I asked the voters, now we are almost getting to the next election. Do you people remember what I promised you 4 years ago?
Zero.
Nobody could remember.
Zero.
Now, I was one who was reminding them. So imagine if I gave them the wrong, because I couldn't tell you, I can easily tell them what I promise is what I've done. But I think Kenyans need now to be taking notes.
That's true.
That when everybody's talking, take notes. So and so has promised us this, so and so has promised us this, so that after 5 years, you can go back to your notes and see who is making promises which are never fulfilled. And if you don't fulfill, you should have no sympathy for such a person.
Well
Just
said.
sack them.
They'll only be remembering
them
one
out.
thing. Mheshimiwa huonekani.
Yes,
That's true. They always say that.
Yeah, that's the only thing they'll be remembering.
Thank you so much once again, Honorable Kasim Sawar Tandaza, Member of Parliament Matuga in Kwale County, and Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu of Kitui Central, that is in Kitui County. We closed it at that. We get to a different conversation. Thank you so much for your feedback. And after this break, we come back with more.